There are new Derelict Cyborg ghost roles available. Of these, there are the Derelict Engineer, Janitor, Salvage, Medical, and the Assault Cyborg. Yes, there is now a Derelict Assault Cyborg. You still have all the Derelict laws. It can be real interesting. Like, just look at the laws I managed to roll in this one. This would be an interesting one to play through. In this loadout, you get a Crowbar EMAG Authentication Disruptor, a C20 that recharges, and an energy sword. Those are all in separate modules, so like you can't have the energy sword out and the C20, but you still have decent bit of killing power, not quite as much as a full-on Syndicate Assault Borg. There is now an inflatable cyborg module. This lets you place down inflatable doors, inflatable walls. There's a box of extra inflatables, so more things you can repair, and you get a security balloon popper, so you can actually pop these walls and doors if you wish. You can also still tear them down with the disassemble button. Either or disassembles it. So I guess the popper here is for some extra fun. It does technically do one pierce, so I guess, yeah. Either way, new module for keeping the station safe. Meatspikes have received a small rework that has big gameplay implications, though. Well, of course, you can still meatspike people like normal. However, once they're actually on the meatspike, you can actually take them off of it. It still unfortunately doesn't have unique sprites, but if you shift click it, it'll tell you who's actually on the meat spike. If you just right click it and click unhook, you'll actually take them off of the hook, and if they were alive before they went on, they will take some damage, but they won't actually be dead. You can still give people, in my experience of testing on a full health person at least, you can cut them 5 times to get 5 pieces of meat before they will gib. So you still can give people on the meat spike. It's just, however, no longer instant, and you can actually be saved. So this slows down perma kills by a lot, but still lets people do their whole cannibal RP if they want. And you could technically torture people with this now, which has its own implications. Pacifists can now use disablers and disabler SMGs, so that means if you get affected by like packs, or if your character just is a pacifist, you can now use these weapons. They don't do any damage, so it's probably was just an oversight that you couldn't use them in the first place, because you were supposed to be able to use whatever that doesn't actually hurt someone. Oz now takes slightly less heat damage, and half as much fire damage, so they are less susceptible to flames and heat. However, they're still just way more susceptible to it than other species. They're a little bit more comparable to Diana now, I suppose, in that regard. So you still don't want to be engulfed in flames as a moth, but before this person would have already been dead, not even crit, with the extra damage modifier. So you can see it in action. That was 10 units to CLF3. Before that would just straight up kill you. It still will, but it's a lot slower. You have a little bit more time to react. Chameleon clothes can now be locked with tools instead of just by voice. So when you right click and add a lock, you can do crowbar, screwdriver, or wire cutter. So you don't always need to do a voice. So if your character is a mute, or if you just want to have the tool lock instead of the ability to have to use a specific phrase. So this lets you be quieter. There's no audio at all. This allows you even greater stealth potential of hiding your chameleon items. Lathes have received a nice UI rework. You can now actually change the priority of what is being made in queue. So you can either put something towards the front or the back if you have a big batch order of different stuff. So like science or cargo can run into this a decent bit. Either way, it's really nice to have a proper queue that you can change and not just have to click through and spam through it and to redo the order and have to do all of your crafts. Topical speed has been fixed. Before, it was treating it as if you were always really low in health, which would slow down the time it took to apply topicals massively. It is now fixed again, so you will self-apply them pretty quickly if you're not that injured, and I think it is supposed to get slower as you get closer to death. Either way, though, it's nice for fixing little band-aids and boo-boos rather than it acting like you were taking surgery to slap on a band-aid. I don't know. Either way, it's nice to see it fixed. Radiation will now randomly have a pop-up telling you taste something metallic in your mouth, and radiation can also make you start to vomit. So radiation is now no longer the super silent killer. It's still a pretty silent killer. I'm already in poor health and I have just vomited. Surely it will pop up this time. I mean, the vomiting was already a pretty clear sign that something was severely wrong. Just well, I mean, ignore the glowing RTG. There it is. You taste something metallic in your mouth. There have been some changes and fixes to crawling overall. You could no longer crawl with moon boots on, so no more free zero gravity on being unhittable, and speed boots no longer give you a speed buff while crawling. So that's 2 major things fixed right there. There's also the change in general, you can no longer crawl while you are weightless, so just big changes to crawling overall, mainly fixes in this regard. Clipboards can now be printed at auto lathes. Plastic clipboards have been also added as well and can be dispensed at the headed personnel's P-Tech or printed. CENTCOM officials have clipboards, so in general, just a place to actually be able to like store papers properly, maintain this. It's great for paperwork enthusiasts in general. There are two new selectable traits. There is impaired mobility, which makes you very slow unless you walk with a tool that can assist you in walking, in this case, such as a cane. So you go from being very slow and hobbled to really fast full speed with the cane. There's also now hemophilia, and that is just simply the ability to clot your own blood is reduced significantly. So just one little cut here is now a much bigger deal to somebody who is a hemophiliac. You can now wear banana peels on your head, and that even includes the explosive banana peel. So there's definitely some interesting potential here. I'm sure people are just going to like the ability to have banana peels on their head anyway. It's fun, it's silly. There are now stencil letters and a few other stencil symbols that you can spray paint on the floor. These have I think, well, I'll just say it's a really nice looking font. They are larger size letters, so you can really make a message more clear, but you need definitely more room in order to make use of these. You can now re-anchor certain structures that were never meant to be unanchored. For example, if you get a wall that gets detached from, say, like a gravity anomaly, you can actually just re-wrench it back into place, so it makes it a lot easier to do repairs on these awkward objects that were never supposed to be unanchored in the first place. And last but not least, now all soaps can be crafted, and the recipes are all varying. They all, in some way, though, involve oil, lye, and salt, and some form of heat. So I'll just put the recipes up on screen because it's way easier. But for example, if you want to make the Omega soap, you're going to have to do some work. You need THC, bananidine, omnazine, amatoxin, Space Mirage, Space Lube, and that's going to be a hell of an adventure to be able to mass produce it. But that's fair because if it wasn't a very complicated recipe, you'd see 4 billion Omega soaps per round. I expect somebody's going to be able to figure this out. It's going to be a botanist of some sort that's going to make 1,000 Omega soaps, and that's going to be a very fun day. Either way, though, I want to thank all of our maintainers and contributors for all their hard work, and thank you for watching.